Man, I got a feeling that this Gaara and Kankuro are going to be some real formidable foes in the Chunin exams.
Naruto Chapter 42, To Each His Own.
Man, and the tension moves on. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, and I'm here to bring you another review on the wonderful, the epic, the fantastic, and exciting tale of Naruto. Our last chapter saw us with, again, just the tension being very high, them being embroiled in the midst of this written test, the first test in the Chunin exams, and just seeing a number of different students, you know, kind of coming to the realization towards the middle of that chapter, all the way up until the end, that, you know, they are in fact going to have to cheat. It's just a matter of how well they can cover their tracks. So the chapter left off, you know, just kind of hanging in that balance, you know, and then of course that's where it picks up over here, and very quickly we wind up seeing Naruto is just, he's beside himself. He's like, God, you know, I think I've got to cheat, but I don't want to get everybody else in trouble, you know. And Hinata is actually sitting next to him, and she's got the hots for Naruto. She's in one of the other cells, of course, and she goes and kind of, you know, is just like whispering to him, you know, hey, you can cheat off me, you can copy off me, you know, and it's okay. So then first he's real wary about it, and he's like, oh, I don't know, you know, maybe she's trying to set me up, maybe it's somebody else in the cell, you know, in her cell that's just trying to kind of, you know, get back at me, and you know, and screw me over, that sort of thing. And you know, and then she's like, no, I just, you know, because he goes, well, why would you help me? And she says, listen, you know, all 9 of us here from our village anyway are all new. I mean, we're all rookies, right? And you know, want to see us make it as far as possible. I mean, of course, she's got the hots for Naruto as well, but she's basically, that's what she uses as an excuse. Like, why don't we work together and see how far we can get doing that, you know? So Naruto's like, oh, okay, cool. And then he goes and he looks over and he sees one of the proctors that, you know, that's watching, right? And he sees him kind of like looking up at him, and then, you know, putting stuff, so he assumes he's maybe getting some points taken away, or maybe this guy's got his eye on him. So then he goes and he's like, no, you know what, thanks, Hinata, but a true ninja doesn't need to cheat, you know. So thank you for the help, but, you know, but he turns it down. So then he's like, okay, great, yeah, now I got my honor, but I'm screwed, right? So it was pretty neat to see. We get a number of other, you know, of the applicants during the course of this chapter get disqualified, and out of the 51 cells, at least at the point where they leave us in the chapter, 13 have been disqualified already for cheating. Of course, one of them even goes, and when he says he's out, you know, he's like, what proof do you have? How do you know I cheated 5 times? You know, and the examiner, the proctor, goes and just grabs him and just puts him up against the wall, and he's like, you listen, we're the best of the best, the elite. We don't make mistakes here, and I'm as strong physically as I am mentally, you know? So basically, like, you want to talk some shit, I'll put you through a wall, you know, and he's kind of holding him against the wall. So that was kind of a, you know, don't even try to go and pull, you know, try to get out of it, okay? We're not making shit up here. We're not here to go and accuse people of things they're not doing. So very, very cool in that sense. And then we go and we see the one that they refer to as the spook, the fella that I can only assume he's like albino or something like that. I of course haven't seen this far into the anime. I've only watched a few episodes. But Gaara, and he's there, and then his other dude that looks like he's wearing a mask, but I guess everybody says it's just kind of like heavily, you know, it's makeup or what have you. Gaara, we wind up seeing, first of all, he goes and he does this technique that I guess he uses his third eye. And he winds up going and actually being able to place this eye with his sand powers, I'm assuming, because it looks like sand kind of dissipating. He says third optic nerve reconnected or whatever, and then it shows from like the perspective of this third eye, and it's looking up at him. And then he's able to go and actually use this thing on other people to see their papers, you know. And then there's another technique that one of the other rival cells that rivals the Kakashi cell. I forget the girl's name off the top of my head, but she goes and does this technique where she basically like goes to sleep, and then she can do like an astral projection of herself, and then actually go and pretty much like temporarily take over somebody's body. So she goes into Sakura's body to go and memorize all her answers, and then she's going to go, and her plan is then she's going to go in her teammates, you know, into their bodies, so everybody has corresponding answers, and hopefully all the right answers, because they copied off of Sakura, who's obviously very smart, you know, in the written word and in the book sense. She's very book smart. So it was really neat to see all of that. And then that dude winds up going and get up, Kankuro, I think his name was, and he goes and gets up the guy that I thought was actually wearing a mask that's with Gaara. he goes and gets up and says, hey, you know what? I have to go to the bathroom. The test is a little more than halfway over now. And he says, I have to use the washroom. And they say, well, of course, a proctor will, will accompany you. And he's like, whatever. Next thing you know, he's in the bathroom, right? And he had deployed that crow, or that scarecrow, which I assume was a weapon of his. It looked like when he was taking it off his back several chapters ago, it looked like a weapon that was maybe like wrapped, for travel or whatever, some kind of mace or spike ball. But anyway, this crow, he's in the bathroom, and the proctor that's standing by him, he goes and he starts talking. He's like, yeah, the idiots, they're so concentrating so hard on looking at the students that nobody noticed that there's been an extra proctor the whole time. So this dude has, and it's his crow, so I'm assuming that this is something that he can maybe use as a doppelganger, as a clone, maybe something that he can, kind of send out and project to be whatever shape he wants it to be. I'm not really sure at this point, but I do know that, he goes and he says the crow, and then you go and you see that this proctor just kind of go and melt away, so he's thinking hey, I pulled one over on them, and then is able to go and grab all the answers that of course this crow has stored or found out in being a proctor, and of course looking at students for the last 40 or 45 minutes. The chapter ends up though with the 45-minute mark hitting, and of course that's Sakura even got to a point where she's like, I filled in all the answers except for that last one. I need to wait for that last question. So we know that last one's going to come after 45 minutes into the test, and you're going to answer to the best of your ability. So we don't know what the question is, but that's how the chapter leaves us hanging off, is that, and now we will fit the 10th and final question. And that's how things end off. All in all, I thought it was a very cool chapter because, see, chapters like this, for me, I have more of an appreciation for than I think the average reader that tries to go and get into a series and then just get caught up. And the reason for that is I'm not better than anybody else. It's just because I'm going slow and methodical and taking my time, I have the time to go and soak in the chapter. And I appreciate it for what it's worth. And what it's worth is that it's building characters, it's building character development, it's building the world, it's building the exams, and it's really going and developing all of that so it's much more believable and plausible rather than just going and throwing a bunch of action scenes at you. So these chapters for me are very content rich and content heavy in the sense that we're getting to know these different applicants, these different participants, these different characters that we're going to see. Some maybe for the entire series of Naruto, some maybe just in the Chunin exams. I don't know. And that's the cooler part for me, is that I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know who, what characters are mainstays, which ones stick around. Honestly, if it wasn't for people in the comments, I'd have no idea that Kakashi was still, kind of like a main player till this day in Naruto. So, I've heard the name Sasuke a lot, so I figured Sasuke and Naruto were both, kind of main characters, but other than that, man, I have no clue what's going on. And like I said, that can be good and bad. For me, though, ultimately, at least so far, it's been very good, because it is kind of just discovering things and then sharing them as I discover them, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, well, I heard this about it. But nonetheless, though, again, a very cool chapter if you look at it for what it is, which is just kind of building up the tension and building up the characters in the world. So my chapter question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is, I guess, what are your thoughts on this trio, this cell from the Sand Kingdom, I'm sorry, I keep saying kingdom, but the Sand Village. They look pretty formidable to me. This Gaara with his third eye, pretty neat power right there. What are your thoughts on that? And then Kankuro, I think his name was, being able to use this crow and actually manipulate, and it posed as a proctor for this whole test and nobody noticed. I mean, I think these guys are going to be a formidable trio. And then of course there's the girl in there, which we haven't been formally introduced to yet, but I've heard that she's kind of a fan favorite as well. So I'm certainly looking to dive into them. But what are your thoughts on those characters, of course, that we've seen so far? Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it. My James Earl Jones over there. So Simba, everywhere the light touches is ours. What about over there where the light doesn't touch? Don't fucking go there, Simba. If you do, it'll be very, very bad. Anyway, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation. If you'd like to see more of my drawings, go on over to my Facebook or Twitter pages, or maybe even follow me on my other channel.